W for Tiger Woods coming up at 4:45. But joining us right now on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline, Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. He is an NBA analyst, host of the MadBoosties podcast and the Lakers Nation pod. Jabari Davis joins us. What's up, Jabari? How are you this afternoon, my man?
Not bad at all. I appreciate you having me.
We were talking right before we brought you on about a potential lineup change. I don't know if it's been announced or leaked, or maybe you're going to break it right here on Cattles Ramie. But going with Rui Hachimura in the starting lineup and sitting either D'Angelo Russell or Dennis Schroeder, do you think that's a move Mike Brown, I'm sorry, I'm in Kings mode, that Darvin Ham might make ahead of game 2 tonight?
I think he should. I think he absolutely will, because the reality is this: while I'm not buying into like, oh, Rui is the ultimate answer and he's just going to lock Jokic up. That's not going to happen. Jokic is incredible and he's going to get his numbers. At the very least, you're not playing undersized, because I'm sure you guys saw in that game 1, in that first half, they were outmatched. They were, if they beat the Lakers, they lost just about every 50-50 ball. They were, destroyed on the glass, for the better part of that half. And it really wound up with them just kind of trying to play from behind. Again, I'm not saying this is the ultimate answer, but if I were them, I would absolutely go big against Jokic.
Jabari, and you kind of spoke to it. You touched on it, that the dominance of what Denver did in the first half, especially the first quarter, and it didn't look that hard. It looked rather easy. Is there another gear that Denver could kick into, or do you think we saw the best Denver team a couple of nights ago?
I think if you're the Lakers, you're hoping that's the best, that you can see. But no, I look. Far be it from me to say that's the absolute best they can play. But like we can also be honest. That was a very well played, very well played game. But to your point, it didn't even look difficult in that first half, which is, again, as the Lakers, showed in the second half. Obviously, they can elevate their game, but that's a great question, because it really is going to be a matter of, once these two teams continue, make adjustments, will the Lakers be able to match energy, match tempo, match pace, and actually outpace them, for the better part of this series? To be honest with you, if the Lakers cannot do that, this is going to be a short series.
Jay mentions that, that might have been the best Denver that you'll face. He also brought up the point after game 1 that you got 40 and 10 from Anthony Davis. You got 26 and 12 from LeBron James. You got 23 points from Austin Reeves. You got 17 points from Rui Hachimura, and still lost. Can the Lakers play better in this series, or did they already deliver their best punch to Denver and it still wasn't good enough?
I'll tell you the truth. I think both teams can continue to elevate, but in particular with the Lakers, from an effort standpoint as well as a strategic standpoint, over the course of the series, I think they can improve. But no, look, Denver. There's a reason why Denver was the number 1 team in the West, over the course of the bulk of the season. There's a reason why they put some distance between themselves, and were actually able to coast through the months of like February and early March. This is the best Denver team that I've seen in quite some time. They have it in terms of their starting lineup. They have great contributors off the bench. They've got it all around. So. Look, I don't think it's going to be a short series. I picked the Lakers heading into it. Admittedly, I very well could be wrong. Part of me thinks that, as crazy as it's going to sound, the winner of tonight's game wins this series. I know it's not over by any stretch, regardless of who wins it. But if the Lakers are able to, build upon what they did in that second half and continue to show the dominant defense that they've shown prior to this series, I think that they're going to be right there in it. But if Denver comes out and blows them out, while the series will not be over, of course, because then the Lakers will be going home, I honestly think that this series is going to be short-lived if Denver wins this game.
Jabari Davis joining us from MadBoosties. Jabari, I'm going to switch gears, man, because I just can't continue to talk about the Lakers here in Sactown, man. It's against my bloodline. And I'm not going to call you crazy, brother, because I do think whoever wins tonight, the series is over. But I'm going to switch gears. Last time I knew your whereabouts, I believe it was out in that Phoenix area. So I'm going to come towards that way. What is going on with the Phoenix Suns letting Monty Williams go, and how can you get better than Monty Williams? I know they're tied to Ty Lue. Looks like Steve Ballmer's going to pull out his wallet and keep Ty Lue. Where could they possibly be going?
That's a great question, and your guess is as good as mine with that, because when I heard the news, I thought, wow, that seems very quick. even though we all know it doesn't matter which market you're in, the coach is always going to be the first one to get the blame, and oftentimes going to be the one on his way out the door. But look, Monty Williams, in my estimation, is a top 10 coach in this league. Depending upon where how you feel about him, he could be top 5 or whatever the case may be. If you had the opportunity to get Lou and it were a lock, then okay, I get it, because maybe you want to go in a different direction, and if you're bringing in a championship coach that has done it in various ways and been fairly successful in various ways, then that's great. But if you're not bringing Lou in, if you don't already have somebody else in mind, to me it's kind of like, well, why did you make the move then? Why did you make it so soon? This is something that could have been done after the season, after you locked in your candidate or whatever the case may be. But look, they have a brand new ownership there. We'll see if they want to continue the same path with the front office, which I hope that they do. But ultimately, when you have new ownership and you have new leaders in an organization, oftentimes regardless of whether it's fair or not, they're going to want their own quote unquote guys in there, and maybe it's just a matter of that.
We were talking about that situation in Phoenix, and some reports that they were trying to steal Ty Lue away from the Clippers, and now the Clippers are trying to lock Ty Lue up more long term. And I said to Jay that it looks to me like, with all these coaches getting fired and coaches with winning track records, that a lot of these teams, after the guy that walks out the door after they handed him his pink slip, are going, oh, well, where do we find somebody better than that now? Do you think NBA teams are realizing maybe a little bit too late how hard it is to find a coach as good as a Monty Williams or a Mike Budenholzer or a Nick Nurse or these other guys that lost their job this year?
It's funny. I was going to answer this question differently, but when you started naming the guys that are actually out there again, for whatever reason, I'd forgotten that Budenholzer was available and Nick Nurse was available. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a matter of, hey, the grass looks greener on the other side, and if we can get a championship level coach, regardless of how it ended at their previous stop, then we'll be okay. So if I'm the Phoenix Suns and I have the opportunity to potentially go out and get a Mike Budenholzer, if I think he's the answer, then I could see that being the case. But the ultimate answer to that question is, I personally think coaches are always hired to be fired, and whether that's fair or not, that is the reality in professional sports, and in particular in the NBA. So it's weird to see people to see it seemingly coaches being passed around like this, but I think this is the new norm. I honestly do.
Is there Jabari? Is there anyone that you have an inkling that is going to be moved this offseason, that I think most of us in the media and fans, that we don't see the writing on the wall yet?
I'm going to say a name, and I will probably look foolish. Look, folks, I'll raise my hand right now. Find me on Twitter, Jabari Davis NBA. I have no problem being wrong. I think Joel Embiid gets moved this offseason, and here's the reason why. Not because it's time, not because I'm saying it's time to give up on that, not because I'm saying, because when he came out after the game, and not only went out of his way to praise Doc, but specifically say, yeah, I think he's going to be safe. And then the very next day they moved on from Doc, and now we're hearing rumors that one of the driving forces behind that is was James Harden or his camp. It makes me think, are they really going to make this? Are they really going to try to sell high on Embiid right now and and center this around? As crazy as it sounds, I think that is the big move that happens this summer.
Wow, I like it.
Let's circle back around. Last question: who wins tonight? Game 2.
Head says Denver goes ahead and takes care of business. Heart, sorry. I know we're still in Sacramento.
No, come on, you hurt my feelings, Jabari.
I'm going to stick with the Lakers. I think they find a way to tie it up. And if I'm wrong, like I said, hey, have me back on. I'll say I was an idiot.
You wouldn't be the first or last idiot on this show, Jabari Day. One is sitting in this very chair. He's an NBA analyst, host of the MadBoosties podcast and the Lakers Nation pod, and our guest for the last few minutes, Jabari Davis. Really appreciate the time, my man.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thanks again for having me.
Let's talk again soon. Jay, fist pumping throughout that interview.
Yeah, man.
Got 2 great questions from Jabari.
I got my dubstep arm going right now.
Do we have the standings handy? The great, good, great question standings, because I think Jay, I'm a host on this show. It's Cattles and Ron. I think Jay might be catching up to me with his fill-in spots. With the good and great questions.
You got some good ones. Bad news for you.
Did he pass me?
Yeah.
I quit.
You have one. You have one, and he has 2.
How many goods does he have?
How many goods do I have?
I don't have any notes for your good questions. You have one.
Oh my God, he's gonna lose it.
So since we've been